All right, folks, here is the dealio. I am looking to hire a new editor, so I blasted out on social media, letting everyone know and giving everyone an opportunity to apply as my new editor. And so I provided footage of a tutorial that I shot for one of my buddies for his quarterbacking course, and I basically gave people an opportunity to show me what you could do with that footage in creating an engaging tutorial edit that I would then use to identify your editing skills to decide if they are good enough for my specific needs for editing these YouTube videos. And in response, I got 300 applicants, of which I went through all of them personally. Took me several days, and I narrowed it down to my top 10% favorites. And in this video, we're going to be going through those 30 or so edits and showing you what I like, what I don't like, common mistakes that I saw throughout all the edits that will hopefully be insightful for all of us here to learn what common mistakes most editors make and hopefully give you some insights on what the better editors are doing that will allow you to stand out and potentially make more money and land more gigs, etc. So without further ado, let's dive in and start looking through all of these edits. Now, first of all, here's the raw footage that I gave to all of our applicants. It's a 5-minute clip of my buddy explaining how to throw a football and giving one of the rules. So it's only supposed to be 5 minutes max. I also gave them a few B-roll clips, and I provided some lavalier audio from his shirt that they could attach. And surprisingly, a few didn't even attach the lav mic audio and just used the on-camera mic. So that right away was one strike against that editor. And now we are going to go through each of the edits. Here they all are in my timeline, and we're gonna go from my least favorite to my favorite of the top 30. So first of all, be aware that a lot of the people that didn't even make the top 10% were still great editors. Sometimes they just weren't the style I was looking for or lacked a few specific skills that I wanted in an editor that I don't even have myself. That's why I'm looking for a new editor. I'm trying to find somebody who's more talented than me, but even within the top 10%, I'll be pointing out things that could be improved and also things that I think they do really well. So let's start out with a few bad examples, things that I saw editors doing that kept them from getting the top percent. One of the main things I was looking for was somebody who had a good eye for typography and design in general. Now here's a bad example of design. Look at the fonts. Look at the colors. The green-red combo is more of a Christmassy feel. Not that you can't use green and red, but you got to use it tactfully and understand when and how to use it. Here's another example. The font, too small down here. Not a real aesthetic font. That's an example of something that I was looking for that I focused on and that a lot of people failed that test right out the bat of using fonts and design that just didn't quite fit the bill of what I'm looking for. Now here's an example of bad color. And this was a common mistake that I saw throughout a lot of these edits and was surprised to see a lot of bad color grades. And I made it pretty clear that, yeah, I want you guys to color grade it, but don't go over the top. Just show me what you're capable of. If you look at the Lumetri scopes over here, you can see that the dominant color in our whites, our highlights in the clouds here is green. You got kind of this pukey look to the footage as a whole. And so the color balance should have been equaled out a little bit here. Our colors are a little bit too washed out to me, but the point is overall the color correction wasn't there, and that's one thing that I wanted people to already have is an eye for color. Now here's an example of an audio mistake where they didn't even attach the lav audio, so they're just using the on-camera audio. So check this out.
Okay, and we're working on with that, but you'll see, you can tell he doesn't have a lot of velocity on his ball.
So you can like hear some kind of machinery in the background, and you can just tell we're kind of a distance away from that versus if you put the lav audio on there.
A common mistake I see is this left arm, this off arm,
you can tell that's a little bit crispier of audio. So that should have been step number 1, is syncing up the visuals with the lav audio, cutting out the in-camera audio and using the better audio option. And then here's an example of, yes, they used the lav audio, the correct audio, but then they drowned it out with the music. The music mix with the lav audio wasn't very good. Listen here.
So if I'm trying to throw right here at target, I need this left arm to be nice.
Generally, I'd say music choice was good. I'd say maybe 20, 30% didn't have music choice that fit very well. This is one that's a little bit too distracting, just super techno-y, and the fact that it's louder than it should be in comparison to the lav audio mic. So those were just a few common mistakes that I saw. I'll be pointing out a few more as we start going through the entries, but let's now go through the entries. Now I rated these edits from 0 to 10, and to make the top 10%, you had to get at least a score of 7. We had a lot of 5s, a lot of 6s, a few 6.5s, a few 7s, very few 8s, and just a couple 9s. So we're gonna start with the 6.5s. I'm gonna work our way up to my favorites, the 9s, so you can start seeing as we gradually progress what these editors are doing better than the ones before them that are making them stand out. Again, this is my preference and what I'm looking for specifically, so these scorings don't really matter. They just kind of give you a rough idea. Okay, so let's start with this first entry. We're not gonna watch all of these, just little pieces of each one. Here's a 6.5.
All
right, so I purposefully started my camera movement, came back here, and then pushed in. And you see they incorporated part of that back movement instead of starting it on the forward movement. So that's something that triggered to me that says, maybe not the most experienced editor if they don't know to cut on that motion properly, so that we're not seeing this first and then this, because clearly I wanted it to start on the push in and not on the pull out, right? Again, we talked about this font wise. I don't mind this font, but I think it is a little bit too small over here in the corner. Design wise, I'd like to see that a little bit bigger. Again, that's personal preference.
Talk about the 90-90 rule. Our throwing arm.
Let's talk about audio here. Look over here at our decibel levels. This one is peaking up at above 0.
90 degrees parallel to the ground. And our off arm, if you're a lefty, it's gonna be.
And I can hear that in the audio. It's just a little bit distorted. Generally, you want to keep those audio peaks at -3, -6. You don't want those hitting 0 and distorting. I could tell that he tried to boost the audio a little bit, boosted it too far, and now we're starting to get some distortion. So that was a flag to me, audio-wise, that he may not really know what he's doing in the audio department.
A common mistake I see is this left arm, this off arm, doesn't get used enough, all right? This is gonna help us generate a lot of power in the throw. So we're gonna look at Drew Brees.
Okay, so about 10 seconds just went by with nothing happening. No words, no graphics, no B-roll. I like to live by something I call a 10-second rule. I don't stick to it exactly, but the point is within every 10 seconds, you should have something visual supporting what you're watching. That helps keep an edit engaging. So if it's just text popping up and staying on screen, that counts. If it's some kind of arrow pointing or graphic animation or a B-roll clip over top to help explain what he's talking about. But when I just see him talking for 10 straight seconds, I lose interest and I start skipping forward. Probably 80% of these edits I watched, I was skipping forward looking for something to see how they incorporated certain elements to make the edits come to life. Try and keep your audience engaged. It's a lot of work, but if you can go every 10 seconds and make sure that there's something supporting the video, so you're not just staring at someone's face talking to a camera, it's going to keep these edits highly engaging. Let's move on now to our 7s. These edits got a score of a 7 from me.
All right, let's talk about the 90-90 rule. Our throwing arm, 90 degrees parallel to the ground, and our off arm, if you're a lefty, it's gonna be your right arm. If you're a righty, your left arm.
Okay, so now we're starting to get a little bit more advanced, a little bit more fun with these motion graphics. The color on this isn't bad. It looks a little bit too contrasty for my taste personally, but overall this is a pretty decent color grade.
Common mistake I see is this left arm, this off arm, doesn't get used enough.
Audio isn't too bad. Probably could have boosted the audio a little bit. It's kind of chilling around -10. Background music in comparison to the voice seems decent. It's not distracting.
Up to 90, 90 and 90, even their left arm. This is kind of the focus of this video. Let's get this left arm up and let's use it to generate power. So when we come and we're making the throw and we come to here, we're gonna use this left arm to drive down, and as we drive it down, it causes our right arm to go forward.
So you're starting to see some more engaging elements being added into the edit. So this is what I was looking for. I'm looking at them saying, yeah, see, I like the way he did that. That's engaging. That helps make what he's teaching more comprehensive. I understand it better because he used these arrows and he helps me point to exactly what I'm looking at. So that's the kind of stuff that I like to see. Now this got a 7 because I think there's a lot of dead space on here. Throughout the rest of the edit, there was text that wasn't a great design. I mean, this isn't bad, but it doesn't really stand out to me and really look super aesthetic, but I liked a lot of the design stuff. So overall, great edit, but again, I'm looking for someone better than myself. So 7.5 edits. These should be getting a little bit better now.
All right, let's talk about the 90-90 rule. Our throwing arm, 90 degrees parallel to the ground, and our off arm, if you're a lefty, it's gonna be your right arm. If you're a righty, your left arm. A common mistake I see is this left arm, this off arm, doesn't get used enough. I think a good quarterback to look at that I feel like wasn't extremely accurate is Colin Kaepernick. His left arm was similar.
So this one's highly engaging. It's a little bit messy and a little bit too much, but the reason I gave this a 7.5 is because I could tell there was a lot of effort and I could tell there was a lot of engagement. I was engaged personally watching it. I'm like, well, it's a little bit too much, but I'm engaged. And that's kind of one of the main goals here is to keep your audience watching, right?
In high school, he has it all over the place. His off arm, he either points it or it's down. And I think that really...
So he does a good job of cutting out fluff. That's something I like in my editing style with my tutorials on YouTube, is I don't like when there's a lot of fluff, dead space. You know, I like things to keep moving along. Jump cuts, I'm okay with. If we can cover up these jump cuts, even better. But the fact that we're jumping past things that are less important, that's the kind of stuff I like to see to keep things moving, keep things engaged. Let's come now to our 8s.
All right, let's talk about the 90-90 rule. Our throwing arm, 90 degrees parallel to the ground, and our off arm, if you're a lefty, it's gonna be your right arm.
Okay, so I like the fun intro. I like the readability of these. Like you kind of see how he's putting it on the sidewalk line so that the white text is in the green, and he put a black outline behind the yellow so it stands out and you can see it better. This one's not as readable, but overall decent job. I don't love the design of it, a little bit too boxy here, but the effort throughout this video is really good, as you'll see. I have some good text popping up. I like the introduction of Drew Brees and Tom Brady. Very clean looking. You get to see him talking while you get to see the examples. That's very comprehensive. I like that. Color grade looks pretty solid. I don't know if I have a ton of complaint on this one. I don't think he did much to it. Put a little bit of contrast, a little bit of color in there. But overall, this is what I was looking for, is edits like this. And I'm starting to get in that realm where I'm like, okay, I could see these guys editing for me. Here's another edit with a score of an 8.
All right, let's talk about the 90-90 rule. Okay.
All right, super fun intro. That's the kind of stuff that's like, oh, what's this cat got to offer?
Our throwing arm, 90 degrees parallel to the ground, and our off arm, if you're a lefty, it's gonna be your right arm. If you're righty, your left arm.
You notice the sound effects attached to those. Blam, look at me.
Okay. A common mistake I see is this left arm, this off arm, doesn't get used enough, all right? This is gonna help us generate a lot of power in the throw. So we're gonna look at Drew Brees, we're gonna look at Tom Brady.
Okay, too much dead space here. If I have to fast forward through it to see what else you have, that's a bad sign, right? All right, now we're moving up to the 8.5s. There was only a few 8.5s.
All right, let's talk about the 90-90 rule. A common...
See, that's cool right there. That is a cool little...
90-90 rule.
Design-wise,
Common mistake I see is this left arm, this off arm, doesn't get used enough, all right? This is gonna help us generate a lot of power in the throw.
See, that's a cool animation right there, generating power. You're helping the audience visualize what he's saying. But here we use a good animation, zooming in on the arm. Very comprehensive, a lot of effort there, moving his position. Good transitions in and out, looks clean. Good job cutting out and bringing in Colin Kaepernick to show bad examples. I mean, that to me is very comprehensive and very clean looking, right? A little bit too much dead space, but overall, pretty highly engaging there. Keeps you engaged throughout the whole edit. Let's dive into the 9s now. We had 4 videos that got a score of a 9. So let's see what they did well that I liked.
All right, let's talk about the 90-90 rule.
25.
Okay, that's a pretty dope edit right there. Pretty dope intro. So that right away catches my attention and says, oh my gosh, this person just spent 4 hours putting together an intro. Let's see what else he has to offer.
Our throwing arm, 90 degrees parallel to the ground, and our off arm, if you're a lefty, it's gonna be your right arm. If you're righty, your left arm, okay? A common mistake I see is this left arm, this off arm, doesn't get used enough, all right? This is gonna help us generate a lot of power in the throw. So we're gonna look at Drew Brees, we're gonna look at Tom Brady.
So love the sound effects there. The transitions to them are super awesome.
Really get their elbows up to 90, 90 and 90, even their left arm.
Very cool animation. Audio's fine. Color grade is fine. It might be a little bit desaturated for my liking, but it's fine. What I really liked about this edit were all the animations and just the amount of effort that was put into it. So really driving home the points, making it very comprehensive. The titling was very clean. Design-wise, it was all on point. All these arrow actions going in. Me as a viewer, I'm thinking, man, like I understand what's going on because I'm seeing all these arrows helping me. As we move into the drills,
Okay, something.
cool little way to kind of transition it, make it flow, make it feel higher production value. This person overall is a better editor than I am, and that's what I'm looking for. Let's check this one out.
All right, let's talk about the 90-90 rule. The 90-90 is extremely important for two reasons. And they're two very important reasons.
Creative. This is probably my favorite color grade so far. It just looks natural, looks clean. Nothing's crushing in 0, nothing's clipping up in 100. Contrast and saturation look on point. And so that's one thing right away I'm saying, I like that. He knows that stuff. That's not going to be a problem.
First of all, it's where you gain power. I know we talked about that, but when you pull this left
Audio, however, is distorting a little bit. Look over here.
arm in and nice and tight to your body.
So we're a little bit hot on the audio.
It allows your body to turn with your hips and your waist, and it generates a
Very fun animation.
lot of power. Second point, not having it out pulling away from your body but straight down, that affects accuracy. As QBs, we want to
Okay, so really good animations, and he's restructured the edit. This is one of the examples of the edit would make more sense if he talked about that first, and he talks about it last. So let's pull that up front first, reorganize the edit in a way that's more comprehensive and makes more sense throughout the whole thing. So that's somebody who did, and that was one of the things that kind of stood out to me. It was like, oh, he understands how to structure a tutorial in a way that makes sense. Super awesome job on this edit. Let's just fast forward through some of the other stuff we saw throughout here. Again, like the cutaway to some fun designs, transitioning, good design. It looks clean, looks sharp. Now this one's not really flashy with animations, but I just think this was one of the cleanest edits that just made me feel like, okay, this is super solid. There's no real flashiness, but it's just, it looks clean. It looks professional. This one also added in a bunch of its own B-roll. Again, a lot of effort goes into it, showing, okay, they know how to keep it engaging beyond what I provided them. They felt like there needed to be some more things added, and they added those in. Looking at it now, probably not a 9 square, probably get more like an 8.5. But this, again, was one of the cleanest edits, most concise edits, very engaging. Design was on, color grade was on, so great job on that one. A lot of good things that I saw throughout a lot of these edits, a lot of things that could be improved upon. But overall, some of the biggest mistakes that I saw that most editors can improve upon is just cleaning up the color, cleaning up the audio, not distorting, not being too quiet, using the lav audio when it's provided, cutting out the fluff. Let's get rid of stuff we don't need in there, reorganizing if we need to, keeping that 10-second rule of keeping it engaging. Don't let 10 seconds go by without something happening that keeps the audience there watching. Design, titling, the flow of the edit. Some of these just flowed better. You could just kind of feel it moving along to the music. The music wasn't too loud. So these are all common things that I saw throughout a lot of these edits. A lot of the edits that didn't make this top 10% had all of these problems, and even all the ones that made the top percent, you saw a lot of them had some of those common problems as well. So none of us are perfect editors in all categories, but hopefully this gave you guys some good insights as to what we can do as editors to improve some of the good and bad that everyone does, and hopefully we can all acquire all of these attributes and become better editors. And the fun thing about this video that you just watched was I gave all this footage that you're seeing right now. I screen recorded, I filmed this, I gave my audio, and I had those top 30 contestants do a second round of edits, editing this video together, and my favorite one ended up being the edit you just watched, and possibly the person that I end up hiring. So hopefully I find an editor from those top picks that can edit a lot of these YouTube videos moving forward. And this was an example of one of those edits done by one of these contestants. So hopefully our edits on this channel improve once we get some of these better editors doing stuff for us. But that's all I got for you guys. If you want to learn how to edit better, make sure to check out fulltimefilmmaker.com, where we teach a lot of the stuff that we taught in this video. Don't forget to subscribe for more content just like this. And if you have any further questions, please let me know.